Hi guys. I haven't done a book recommendations in a while, so I'm going to do a 5 book recommendations. 5 random books that I'm going to recommend that I enjoy or that I think others may enjoy. I'm going to do that before I get into some book reviews I got coming up. Thought it'd be a fun way to, kind of get into the week. And yeah, I really don't have my ducks in a row. In fact, some of my ducks seem to be missing, and I'm pretty sure one of them is a pigeon. So don't mind my disorganization and scatterbrained uh, approach to this. Yeah, just wanted to put out 5 random book recommendations today. That'd be fun. So let's talk about Alan E. Norris's The Blade Runner. And that may sound familiar to most of you. So, of course, some of you may know that when they made a movie out of Philip K. Dick's book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Ridley Scott thought the title was a bit too long and clunky, so he went for looking for another title. And he borrowed it from another book he liked, The Blade Runner by Alan E. Norris. And I'm going to admit, because I'm a huge fan of Blade Runner and of Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, that's the reason I went and hunted this down originally. But I want to tell you, this book is fantastic on its own. And it could work as a movie even today, and I'd love to see it made into a movie. This is a slightly dystopian future where the poor are not allowed to get medical care, and if they do, then they have to agree to basically be sterilized. So you have doctors who go out under cover of dark, like Robin Hood's, like The Shadow, and treat sick poor people. And the law is looking for them. It's against the law. It's a crime. But there seems to be a virus that's becoming epidemic, and it could be very problematic to the whole society, poor and rich alike. And it follows the doctor as he goes through and has to help develop a system for taking care of everybody before it spreads, because there's the idea that, if you don't treat the poor for it, it's going to affect everyone. You get the idea. Dystopian, medical, sci-fi. It's actually really, really good. I haven't read it in a while. I want to reread it. On top of that, there's also a sub-storyline about doctors being replaced by a kind of almost AI surgeon. So despite the fact that this is a very old book, there's a lot of topical aspects to it, and it is a fantastic book that gets overlooked because the title is borrowed and it gets dismissed. But if you can find a copy of this, I highly suggest you check it out, especially if you're into medical sci-fi. It's really good. It's a fantastic read, and I really want to read it again. And unfortunately, I went to find a copy of it, and I bought a copy of it really cheap, and it's in mint condition. Now I don't want to read it because I want to keep it. So now I got to find a reader copy to go along with this one, because I had read it, on ebook before. But in any case, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, The Blade Runner by Alan E. Norris. Great book. If you're into, like I said, sci-fi, if you're into medical sci-fi, definitely check it out. All right. Hardcore Zen. Monster movie, punk rock monster movies and the truth about reality. Now, this is a nonfiction book, and I want to tell you up front before I get into this, I hate self-help books. I hate books that try to teach you a lesson or teach you about life or try to sneak in life lessons to you. So this is not going to be that, because I would never, I can't stand that stuff. So this is different. Even the back. Question authority, question society, question reality, question yourself. This is about Brad Warner, and he is a punk rock bassist who makes monster movies for a company in Japan, and his search for his own personal Zen. And it doesn't preach to you, it doesn't try to tell you that's the right path. He talks about his journey in a way that's so fun and so amusing and so uplifting that you can't help but enjoy your time with him. Whether you're into Buddhism or believe in Zen and Zazen or any of that, the story itself is just fun. He's a great writer. and it's a fun adventure, a fun trip. And I'm not necessarily Buddhist. I do have, my secret to Zen comment at the end, but I do like some of the concepts around finding and being able to center yourself, especially somebody like me who has some PTSD and other issues. Getting some groundwork and some just basis in reality to work with is sometimes helpful for me. But this is not going to teach you how to be Buddhist or try to preach to you or try to be a self-help book. It is just a fun, fantastic read. And it's another book that I want to go back and read. He has a bunch of books out there. I suggest this is where you start if you want to read them. It's the first book in his series, and it's a lot of people are going to say hokum or whatever. That doesn't matter because it's just a fun read. He's just a fun writer telling a fun story about himself. And he said punk rock, monster movies, and the truth about reality. He literally works at a company in Japan that makes monster movies and is a punk rock bassist. I mean, do you even care about the Zen part when you have that? No, it's a lot of fun though. Ugly cover, ugly as hell. Some of his other covers in his series are fantastic. This one's kind of weird and gross, but it's just a great fun book that kind of makes you feel good, and his story is just a lot of fun. All right, how about some sci-fi? Necrotech Weird Tales presents Necrotech by Jonathan Malberry. Yeah, this is put out by Weird Tales. They're sponsored by them. This is the first book in the series. The second book just came out. This is Jonathan Malberry doesn't usually write sci-fi. He's more of a horror writer, and it makes sense with this. This book is H.P. Lovecraft sci-fi. It's Battlestar Galactica meets H.P. Lovecraft. You get a space station that gets ripped out of its time and space, ends up in somewhere else. There's a mystery about what's going on with where they are, when they are, what happened to some of the people on the ship that are missing. And then you get into a horror story where you have ghosts, possibly. You have mechs. You have spaceship battles. You have tech that is invested with the energy of spirits and ghosts and evil, and it's just a fun, fantastic popcorn horror sci-fi read, and I had a great time with it. It's like I said, it's like Battlestar Galactica meets H.P. Lovecraft, as you have a lost crew out in space, and then the ghosts show up, and it's really cool. I wouldn't call it scary, but it's a lot of fun. And if you're into like H.P. Lovecraft and you like mechs and you like spaceships and you like popcorn sci-fi, like I said, the second book of this just came out and it's a lot of fun. And I highly suggest you check it out if you're into that. Look at that cover alone. It shows you everything you need to know about what it's about. It really is, that probably be an accurate portrayal of some of it at least. And it's a lot of fun. So check it out. All right, are any of you guys fans of the band Rush? Well, the late great Neil Peart, their drummer and lyricist, worked with Kevin J. Anderson to put out a fantasy book. This is a steampunk clockwork type fantasy book with some tropes you've seen before. And it actually has an album that goes along with it. Clockwork Angels, Rush put out an album, and that matches up with the book. And it's just a lot of fun. And if you're a fan of Neil Peart and you know how well he can write lyrics, you probably should be interested in seeing what he can do in a book. Yes, he's writing with Kevin J. Anderson, but there is definitely some Neil Peart in here, as you can probably guess. It's some of his writing clearly comes through. You have a boy living out in the country named Owen, who has heard about the big city, the world that's run by this benevolent watchmaker who imposes precision on every aspect of life. And he wants to, get a glimpse of this watchmaker and see the clockwork angels that dispense wisdom. And he goes off on this adventure from leaving his little town to go to the big city, and it's a lot of fun. It's very, fable and fairy tale like in some ways. It has, it does have some tropes and stuff in it, but it's a lot of fun. You have, steamliners and airships and pirate battles and all kinds of things. It's a great little adventure if you're into fantasy adventure, and it's being written by Neil Peart. It's definitely a curiosity in of itself. So I'd suggest, maybe reading the book, listening to the album, and checking it out and see what you think, because it's a lot of fun. And there is a short story collection to go along with it as well. This is Clockwork Lives, written by Anderson and Peart. And these books are just beautiful, by the way. I mean, the way they're done. I think there's some artwork in here somewhere. Don't you want to just sit here and let me look through a book? There's a little bit of artwork in there, but the book itself is just beautifully done. You can find the faux leather bound cover book. That's cool. This is, like I said, this is a short story follow-up to the original Clockwork Angels book, which has great covers. And yes, there's definitely art in here. There's definitely some very, very cool art in here scattered throughout the book. And it's just like I said, if you're interested in fantasy, it's a little bit of a different take on it, something a little bit unique. So yeah, Clockwork Angels might be something worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of Rush and you haven't had a chance to read this. Definitely suggest it. And yeah, I'm all over the place with this review of the day, or this recommendations. I'm babbling, sorry. All right, and so as always, the fifth book I always finish up with a graphic novel. Now, I'm a Marvel fanboy. I love Marvel comics. I talked about that. Spider-Man, Daredevil, Moon Knight, X-Men, Avengers, love all that. But I thought today I'd try something a little different and talk to you about one of my favorite Batman graphic novels. This is Hush. Now, a lot of people think it's a little bit too fluffy and light, but the storyline in this changed the comics for a while and introduced new characters, and the art in it is done by one of my favorite artists ever, Jim Lee. It's beautiful, it's fantastic, and it is so chock full of Batman characters and DC characters that make appearances. I mean, if you're one of those people who's a little bit jaded, I am, but in this case, I enjoyed it. You might be like, oh boy, and another character that they're just going to throw in. But it was just so much fun. I didn't care. Like, every chapter in the series introduced and gave you different DC villains and characters, and it was just a blast to read. This is probably one of my all-time, if not my favorite, Batman story of all time. And it literally has pretty much every single Batman related character in it that you can imagine, and his friends, his enemies, and it's just so much fun, and the artwork in it's incredible, and it's just an absolute blast. And it has a nice, fun twist ending, and the whole thing's a giant mystery. He's going through trying to figure it out, and it's just great. It's just fantastic. It's my favorite. Like I said, it's probably my favorite Batman story of all time. And that's coming from a Marvel guy, so you take it as you will. But anyway, so yeah, there's 5 random recommendations. And of course, like I said, my ducks were not in a row here. Sorry about that if I was a bit all over the place. Kind of just did this on a lark. I was going to do a review and decided I wanted to do a recommendations because I hadn't done it in a while, and I wasn't set up. I just grabbed 5 books I can think of that I liked and pulled them off the shelf and did this with zero prep, zero thought, all on the fly. So I apologize if I'm all over the place. Anyway, thank you. Appreciate it. Please subscribe, and remember, the secret to Zen: read books, pet dogs, listen to metal. Love you guys. See you soon. Bye.